life can hit like a sledgehammer. But guess what? We hit back harder. Welcome to Affirm That Shit. Somehow, I thrive. I'm Jennifer Rogers, your no BS guide to turning life's toughest moments into badass victories. Ready to flip the script? Let's affirm that life can be a bitch, but somehow we thrive. Welcome to today's episode of Affirm That Shit. I have a question for you. Have you ever wondered who you are? Maybe questioned yourself, who am I? Maybe you feel like you're not living your best self. Something's holding you back. So what is it? And why is it? Today, I want to introduce you to my friend Robyn. She's a beautiful empress who's built her throne through discovery, balance, and self-revelations. Today, she is a transformation powerhouse, leading others in their progress to victory, empowerment, and self-confidence. But before I bring her on, I want to share some affirmations with you around her story. And if you're new to listening to us at Affirm That Shit, we have 3 affirmations. We say them 3 times, and I invite you to join me in saying them. If you're in a position where you can close your eyes, take a breath, and repeat after me. Acceptance. I am accepting of all parts and versions of myself. I am accepting of all parts and versions of myself. Forgiveness. I am forgiving of myself and others, releasing the past with love. I am forgiving of myself and others, releasing the past with love. I am forgiving of myself and others, releasing the past with love. Honoring. I am honoring my true and authentic self. I am honoring my true and authentic self. I am honoring my true and authentic self. Let those affirmations resonate with you. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Join us as we bring in our friend Robyn. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. And then she's going to be here to help you transform.
Imagine a space where you let go, where the clamor of the world quiets and you meet your truest self. At Yu-Gi-Oh!, through sound vibrations, Reiki, and the wisdom of tarot, we help you release what no longer serves you, align with your energy, and renew your spirit. Begin your journey back to yourself today.
Hi, Robyn.
One of these days I'll get it all figured out. Good morning.
That's what transformation's about, right?
Yes.
Right into
transforming into learning all of it.
Right into it. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, you're the best. Robyn, you and I met a few months back, probably 7-8 months ago, in a group that we had together. And
Yes.
Just to share with the listeners, you are dynamic, sister. the energy you put out, the love that is felt when anyone is even just on a Zoom with you, because we've not met in person.
No. Soon. Hopefully soon.
Girl, yes, Christmas countdown is on. I know when I'm going to meet you. It's happening. And you have a story that I'm sure many will resonate with. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going just to open it up for you to start where you would like. But in thinking about that transformation, their forgiveness, and learning who you are, can you walk us through, as we know this podcast, through your shit story and then how you came through it? Somehow, Robyn, thrived, right?
Yes. Oh, completely. And thank you for those affirmations. As I was listening in the background of those affirmations, just new thoughts were coming through and new affirmations of I get to honor who I am today, but I also get to honor who I was yesterday, a month ago, a year ago, 10 years ago, because in each of those times in my life, I was doing the best I could with what I had and what I knew. And so, of course, hindsight's always 2020. Oh, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that. But we did what we knew was best in that moment. And that's where I'm at now, is just honoring every piece of that. But as I've looked back, yes, as you've asked about that story, I was brought into this world, um, bushy haired, full voice, singing with the birds, first thing early in the morning before the even sun came up. And looking back at that now, and even as I say that, I'm like, my voice has power. I have a story I get to tell. And so thank you for allowing me to share this. So I was brought into this world over 50 years ago, and I've learned so much. And part of that upbringing was in a very religious family, a very I don't want to say militant, but peace officers, military had a little bit. And so there was a lot of structure that came into play. And so we just always did what we were supposed to do. We always made sure we looked the way we were supposed to look and do the things we were supposed to do, and go to church, and go to primary, and dress a certain way and say things a certain way. And that's how I was raised. And as I got into my teenage years, I was like, this just isn't resonating for me anymore. And of course, I became the black sheep and had to try things and dabbled where I wasn't supposed to dabble. But I now know that that's my design. I get to try things. I get to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And I did. I dived up the deep end. I tried some new things, but then that religious guilt set back in. And I married the man who I was taught to marry. And, looking back as I walked down that stairs into a sea of Marines, I knew I was not supposed to get married, but I was going to stop divorce in my family. I was done with it. My parents divorced, my grandparents divorced on both sides. I was stopping this. And so I went through with it. And we were married for 13 years, 2 beautiful, beautiful children, friends all around the world, lived in so many places. Was it bliss? Sometimes. Was it trauma and heartache and even some verbal abuse at times? It was. But we just kept going. We moved 9 times in 13 years. And so every time we moved, it was like, we're going to start over. It's that fresh start. It's that new Monday. It's that new January 1. And it would work for a while. And when I started to notice the cycle affecting my kids, it was time to step away. And we were in, the coldest place in the nation, up in the very top of Minnesota. And I came home, and after about 3 weeks, there was just this clarity that I needed to stay home here in Utah. And I called the kids' dad, and it was the most grown-up conversation, adult conversation we had probably ever had. And I said, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to take care of everything. I want you here. I want you close to the kids, but our lives are not meant to be together anymore. And it was very cohesive for a little while. And then the humanness kicks in and the what ifs kick in. And it was 18 months of hell with the divorce. And we finally got divorced. He got settled a little closer. I was in Utah. He was in Minnesota. He finally settled in Colorado. And I had a job that took me there. So I would take the kids over to him once a month. And so we finally found some stabilization between us. But then when I started to find myself, started on my healing journey, started meeting with healers and mediums and really connecting to who I was after being in a very military, religious, narcissistic marriage for 13 years. I started to find myself and started to peel back those layers of what I was supposed to be or who I was supposed to be, what I was supposed to say. And I found myself stepping away from the church. I found myself becoming more spiritual, connecting to angel, sources, creator, guide, whatever you needed, whatever you believe is that ultimate power. And started on my healing journey and finding myself. And in that, I found that my sexuality shifted. He did not handle that very well. And we started down that road again of verbal abuse and all of the stuff. And it continued for a long time. But because I
And this
found
is
myself
after your divorce. You're
after the
separated.
divorce.
You're divorced. We're in different states.
Yes.
And
Different.
he
Yep.
still has that thought that this is his control. He can,
Yeah. We were a state away. But every time we had visitation exchange, I had to have the cops there because I'm scary and he didn't trust me. And so, yeah, it continued. But the flip was when I started to learn about who I was and I started reading and getting mentorings and stuff and realizing that how he reacted to me and how other people react to us when we speak our truth, that's their issue. That comes from their patterns and their beliefs. And so I started really being mindful with my words and mindful with my responses. And of course, when those rotten emails come in, you just want to be like, "Rawr." And I would. I'd put it all in there. But then I'd sit for a day. And then I'd come back with a fresh breath and a new perspective and be like, I hear you. And here are my thoughts. And I could only control me. I could only control how I responded instead of reacted. And realized that I needed to live my life. Excuse me. And as I moved through my journey and watched other people move through their journey, because of course, when we start to resonate at certain vibrations, we start to call those people into our lives that are at that same vibration, that are wanting to heal, that are learning new things. And I reached out to a friend of mine and was like, what have you been going through? And he introduced me to Reiki. For those of you that don't know, it's a Japanese healing, hands-on healing technique. That we as practitioners become a conduit for that universal life source energy to assist in physical, mental, emotional, spiritual healing. And I stepped into that and had to know everything. And so I became level 1, level 2, and a Reiki master within 90 days. And everything just started to flood back. All of a sudden I had visits from my great aunt who taught me about the elementals and the angels and the earth gnomes when I was a kid, wearing crystals my whole life and had no idea why. All of that started coming back. My connection to source was so much stronger than what I had taught it could be. And I had to learn everything. And as I learned and healed certain patterns in my life, I watched my kids change. And I watched my kids find their strength and their true self. And even though I'm a parent, I'm more of a guide or a mentor for my kids now because they get to live their lives. They get to choose for themselves. And they had a very big choice just a little over 2 years ago. As they, of course, as they get older and different things happen, work and school and dating, we don't have time for visitation, especially when the other parent is a different state away. And so that relationship started to become estranged and kind of pulled away. And not unexpectedly, their father got sick and he passed away about 2.5 years ago. And during that process of him being sick, I really wanted to make peace with myself, with the marriage, with the relationships, with the kids' father before he passed. And with the tools that I've learned doing soulful work, contract work, Akashic work, going into that library and really understanding our contracts, I was able to heal that. And I was able to see him from a new perspective, that the man he chose to be, I get to be grateful for, because he taught me humility. He taught me forgiveness. He taught me strength, and he taught me to see things from a new light. And we made peace. And when I look back at that kind of outline of when I started my healing journey with him, where his illness came in, when he died. It's really crazy. That's a whole topic for another day. But when he passed, I was able to just hold space for my kids who were, let me think, like 21 and probably 14, and say to them, no obligations, no expectations. What would you do? Because his funeral was a state
Oh,
away. His
would
burial
you
was like
repeat
8 hours
that?
away.
Girl,
Yeah.
that is amazing. That just hit
Yes. Yeah.
so hard. One more
So,
time for us.
yeah, having a conversation with my kids, trying to get them to make their own decision, why they
Yes.
would want to go, why they would not want to go. And I finally looked at my son and said, no obligations, no expectations. What would you do? And he said, you know what, Mom, I'm going to sit on that. And he came up to me the next morning and he said, I'm going to hockey. I have college hockey tryouts this weekend. I'm going. And my daughter ran my healing fair at my healing studio for the first time. And they both chose themselves as their father was being put to rest. And I know that family struggled and I know that family was upset. But I don't know if my kids truly know the strength and the conviction that they had in themselves for choosing themselves that day. And of course, we open the door to say, like, we can do our own celebration of life for him. We can do those things, whatever we need to do. This gets to be your journey. And it was
Yes.
so peaceful for all of us to be able to choose that. And to know now, 2.5 years later, that he's giggling. I can hear him. We have a beautiful relationship from that side to this side. And I know that he watches over my kids. And if they choose to allow him in, that's up to them. It gets, no matter where the relationship is, whether it's me and you state to state, me and my kids in the same house, here in this realm, I believe, or in the other spirit realm, we get to have healing, loving, truthful, heartfelt conversations, and we get to honor each other no matter where we are in our existence, in our journey, in our transformation. And when we choose to take that on, it's not just us that transforms, but it's energetic transformation and healing that transpires 7 generations forward and 7 generations back. And I've witnessed that in my kids, and I've witnessed it in my parents. And it's been beautiful to watch that unfold and transform.
Robyn, the power you have, the power you have to start out in life, in your adult life, looking for a spouse, saying the divorce ends here. We're going to honor those vows. And then to be shook up, and like we know those vibrations, and you felt it on your wedding day.
Mm-hmm.
The strength that I have no doubt of the fibers that you have woven into your children.
Yeah.
That is
And it
some
was,
powerful
yeah,
healing.
it is. It is. And thank you for that. And it brings to mind that, remember that initial thing was, I'm stopping divorce, so I'm getting married. It was a conversation with a beautiful friend of mine that she was like, is it divorce or is it something else? And I realized at that point it was codependence, which has a huge strangle on so many people, that it was codependence I needed to heal. And so, of course, I went from one to the other, and I was so freaking independent. Nobody could do anything for me. I had to do everything myself. And
Yes.
I
Yes.
found my way back, because as women, we know that it's hard to receive because we're the mothers and we're the caretakers and we just want to give and give and give and give. But we get to receive. There's that balance in receiving. And when we can find that peace and flow, it's brilliant. It's bliss. It's peace. It's how life should be.
It's harmonious, right? And
Yes. Love that
I
word.
hear people say balance. And
Mm-hmm.
every time I hear that word, I think of the Lady of Justice, right? With her two balance plates there. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why does it have to be one or the other? And you're a great example of it doesn't. And even if I jump over to the other side too far,
Mm-hmm.
I can come back and I can find what flows
Yeah.
through me to work. Oh
Yeah.
my
So that
goodness.
that lady of justice is me. I'm a Libra. I constantly carry those scales with me. But what I've learned over the years is she's still balanced, whether she's 50-50 or 70-30 or 100 and 0. She's
Yes.
still balanced and she's still holding strong. She's allowing the giving and the receiving, whether it's within ourselves or with others. It's flow and harmonious trust in self.
Oh, I love that. And the numbers, I've never been much of a number person. And so you're absolutely correct. It doesn't have to be 50-50 because we know numbers are infinite, right? So
Right.
why would we put something with a value like that on it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's those visualizations and those structures that have meaning, and they're great because a lot of us have to attach a meaning to something. But look at her. Don't look at the scales. She's still standing strong, no matter what's
With
happening.
her eyes blindfolded, she is leading
Yeah.
the way. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
completely. And she trusts that the flow will keep her moving forward.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing with us today.
Yeah.
I
So it's
want
been,
those that resonate with you to be able to reach out to you. Would you be open to that and
of
continuing
course.
to help? So if you'd like to take just a moment, and we'll share in the show notes as well your contact information,
Yeah.
but just so that your voice speaks out who you are and where you are, would you share that with us?
Of course. Thank you so much. So my name is right here on the bottom of the screen, Robyn Eyre-Long, and literally that's my domain, robyneyre-long.com. From there, you can find my Clear Healings, which is my business that is now shifting into what I call Conversations with Robyn, because what better way to learn by just having a conversation? And whether it's about healing or trouble at home or in relationships or end of life, what does even end of life look like? Let's have a conversation about it. So yes, please reach out. I'm here to have a conversation with you. I'm here to assist you through your healing, whether it's energetic, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Let's have a conversation.
Thank you, Robyn. Thank you for walking us through the shit and giving us some shit to get through. You're beautiful. Thank you
Thank
again
you.
for being here today.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's been a pleasure to be here with you.
You just took another step towards owning your story and thriving against all odds. This is Affirm That Shit. Somehow I thrived. If you're ready to keep kicking ass, subscribe now and let's keep breaking barriers together. Remember, life's a battle, but somehow you'll thrive.